Are you someone who think twice before sending any messages to someone? Are you someone who think twice before uploading any images to Instagram profile? Welcome to yet another episode of Life Loosened Up. This is your host Katie, who share the awareness and spread the conversation with the hope of making small changes in someone's life. There was one fine day where I was going through the post on Instagram and I was totally blown away by looking at one post from Urvashi Govardhan, and that provoked me to email her and invite her to our show Life Loosened. Three takeaways from this interview. Number one, I asked her from where did she get the courage levels of uploading such kind of images on Instagram. Number two, I asked her why has she used heavy words like body dysmorphia, eating disorder, anxiety, depression to describe herself on the profile. Number three, I asked her how to grow on YouTube and how to be confident in front of camera. So guys, buckle up the seats, enjoy the show, enjoy the conversation that I had with Urvashi, but please don't forget to subscribe to our channel Life Loosened Up. Enjoy.
Hey folks, please share and subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon for timely updates.
Welcome to Life Loosened Up, Urvashi. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. Things are good, getting better. 2020 was not the best for all of us, but I think 2020 is starting to look a little bit better, so I'm going to hold on to that hope. How are things for you?
It's good. It's night here at 9. It's how much? It's 9:50 p.m. And I just got off from a call from offshore. Yeah, it's good going. So Urvashi, straight up to my first question. I really don't want to take much of your time. So one fine day, what happened was while I was, scrolling through the Instagram feed, I came across a blunt post that shook me up like anything. I was like, wait, I'll go and check it out, okay? And this is what it was written. I just made a note of it. Life is worth more than my body fat percentage. Like, if you ask me to share anything on Instagram or any Facebook or any social network, even if I'm writing something, I would read it twice or thrice. कि बाबा कुछ अगर ग्रामर कुछ मिस्टेक्स है, ये है, वो है, what people would think, लोग क्या करेंगे. But looking at your profile, I was like, it kind of shook me up. So can you just speak about the courage levels while posting such kind of blunt post in social media?
A friend had sent me this profile of a plus size model who's based somewhere in Europe, I think. And I was going through her profile and I saw a picture of her back with those back rolls that I had posted in that photo. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God, my back also looks like this. And for a moment, I was like, this is the first time on any sort of media where I've seen a back that looks like mine, that looks like my mother's, that looks like the women at weddings, at pujas, all of that, right? Because otherwise, on media, in the movies, in pictures, you only ever see that perfectly slender, no fat back, right? Especially with sari blouses. So when I saw that post, I was like, oh my God, if this girl has made me feel this way, maybe I can make someone else feel that way. So my whole thing with my social media, especially about mental health and body image, has been to pay it forward in the sense that I benefited from someone else telling their story. So if I can do that for someone else, then I've at least paid it forward. So in that sense, I also spend a lot of time on those captions. I have like a separate notes app where I type one long essay and then I edit it down and then post it. So I was very conscious in trying to disconnect that idea of body fat percentage, anxiety to you don't deserve to live. Mm-hmm. So that's where that came from.
Do you have a close watch on your comments? Like if people talk bad about you, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I do on Instagram. On YouTube, not so much, because on YouTube, we all know how the comment sections are.
I know.
I just ignore it largely. On Instagram, yes, I do. See, if it's a valid point and it's being made with a tone where I can have a conversation with them, I will respond. So if someone is completely dismissive of what has been posted, then I will either call them out. Like, for example, let's say I've posted this thing about the body fat percentage and someone says, why are you so stressed? Like just completely dismissive of like, oh, why is this such a big deal for you? Then I'll comment and say, just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean it doesn't affect other people. Like this affects me. It affects, like look at the comments, it affects all these people in the comments. So If it doesn't affect you, just move on, bro. Like, why are you commenting, right? Like, why are you taking the time to comment on this?
Exactly.
But if it's something completely random, like, kya hai ye bakwas and all, I don't respond. So in that sense, I choose who seems worth responding.
Talking about psychiatrist, is it a good thing to visit psychiatrist? Because see, this is what happens to me. I had my friend, he's in India, and he was going through some mental health issues. And you know what I told him? Go and visit psychiatrist. You know what he said? Pagal hua hai kya? I don't have to visit. I'm not mad. So what do you want to speak about it a bit? Like, is it really good to visit a psychiatrist if you are really going through some problems like mental health or anxiety issue and blah blah blah?
I would say like we should start looking at it the same way we look at our physical health, right? You don't wait until you're vomiting blood, right, to go to a doctor.
Right.
Like if you have some consistent pain, you'll go, or you'll consult someone. Over the years, you learn how to take care of it on your own, things like that. It's the exact same thing with mental health. You don't have to wait until you're trying to cut off your arm to go to a doctor.
Right.
Like if you are feeling that kind of pressure that you're not able to find a release for, it's perfectly okay. I would say even the most sorted, calm, perfectly aligned person can gain something from therapy, because none of us are perfect. All of us have something in our lives that's holding us back, some sort of stress, some sort of anxiety.
I just want to read your profile, okay? I have made a note of it. So this is what your profile says: body dysmorphia, eating disorders, anxiety, depression, suicide, self-harm, BPD. I guess it's bipolar disorder.
Borderline personality disorder.
What is that?
Borderline personality disorder.
Cool. So this is how you describe your Instagram profile, okay? So there are many YouTubers where I follow. I don't want to drop any names here, but this is what they say: ki whatever they are going through in their life, like the tough times, they don't want to disclose it out in the public, but the good times they're having, they want to disclose in front of public. So could you speak about like your Instagram profile? Like don't you feel like your profile is kind of negativity? Does it sound like negativity or something? Because I know you are a phenomenal influencer, but on top of that, but somewhere when I go and check your profile with all these heavy words, it kind of shooks me for a second. So could you speak a little about it?
So that was actually meant to be a content warning or a trigger warning for those subjects, because what's happened a couple of times is that I've posted some really heavy subjects on my stories, and people have messaged me saying it was triggering for me because they have their own issues and their own anxiety, and they're just scrolling through Instagram and suddenly they see this post about suicide, and they might be dealing with their own issues with suicide, and so it sets them off, right? So I mean, triggers are a thing online, definitely. Like I personally, I can't read anything about violence against women. Like I just can't read it. Like if I start reading it, I'm finished. I'm done for the next 2 hours. It'll be in my head. So in that sense, I wanted to put out kind of a warning to say like, hey, this profile is going to talk about heavy things, and if it's going to trigger you, if it's going to make your issues worse, I'm giving you a heads up now. Please unfollow, mute, unsubscribe, whatever you have to do, because the last thing I want to do is to make someone else's issues even worse. And the thing is, yeah, some of my posts are just random, fun things like my mom doing something silly or whatever, but because it comes out of nowhere sometimes, I did want to give that heads up, and I did feel quite bad when somebody told me that it upset them. So I put it in that sense. In terms of positivity, negativity, I feel like social media as a whole is very saturated with positivity right now. I think 98 out of 100 accounts will focus on the good times.
Right.
And I just felt like, again, that whole aspect of paying it forward, right? Somebody spoke about their struggles, which helped me. And so I want to speak about my struggles in case it helps someone else. So in that sense, I feel like it's okay to have one channel or one account talk about heavy things. So if you as a viewer on Instagram are following 1,000 accounts, it's okay if 2 or 3 are talking about heavy subjects, right?
Heavy subjects, right? Right. Makes
so
sense.
That when you are feeling down, you know where you can go to say like, okay, and to give you an example, I lost my cousin in October last year. And since then, my sister-in-law, his wife, has been sharing a lot of grief-related accounts, which focus on coping with loss of a loved one, lots of accounts run by widows and things like that. And even though they have a lot of dark content, I find a lot of peace in it, because when I go and I read their posts, I'm like, okay, this in a sense is a universal experience. Other people are feeling this way also. Sometimes I go and see their posts, and their caption or that post would have the words that I was looking for a feeling that I was not able to explain to somebody. So in that sense, I do follow these grief related accounts as well, and they do help me. And so because it provides a safe space for me to feel sad, like if I want to feel sad, I can go there, and I know that other person is also grieving. I'm also grieving. The people in the comments are grieving, and it becomes a safe space. Like I remember having certain conversations there saying, "Thank you for sharing this." She shared, I'm assuming it's a she who runs her account, shared this wonderful resource of these online meetup groups for people who are grieving, where on these big events and these big occasions like Christmas and Valentine's Day, when you don't have that loved one to celebrate with, you can just join this group. So there are lots of resources as well in those places. So even though I am talking about heavy subjects, I do try to tag my psychiatrist and links to places where you can find a psychiatrist, things like that. So I hope that it can become a resource for somebody as well, like a safe space to feel whatever you want to feel, and then also get help for it and find a community around it. So that's the goal.
Man, really nice answer for that question. So this is a kind of a selfish question. This is for me, and of course people who are watching this interview also, and if they want to grow in YouTube. So can you just tell me at least 3 tips on how to grow on YouTube?
Honestly, I feel like my personal YouTube journey has been very unexpected and very random. I have not put in half the work that most people put in. So in that sense, a lot of it has just been serendipity. I would say 3 tips. One is to talk about the things that you know, obviously, because I feel like there's no point starting a channel to talk about what people want to hear if that's not of interest to you. Because I mean, I know that there's a huge audience for how to move to America, how to get into a master's, how to move countries. And I ended up in that space by accident because I was talking about my experiences. But people started emailing me saying, how do I go to do my master's in Seattle? And I was like, I have no idea. I applied to 5 colleges 10 years ago. I went to one college. I lived in one city. I don't know how to help you get to where you want to be, because I'm not like a counselor in that sense. So I restrict to what I know how to talk about, even though there is this entire market. I don't want to get into it. I want to stick to what I know. That's one. The other one I would say is this: I don't follow myself as much as I should, but to post as much as action. So I have to take this channel in that direction, and I can't do anything else. So one tip that I got from a photographer friend of mine is that people are following you, the person. So whatever it is about your journey that you want to share, people will want to hear that.
Right.
So over time, when you're building a personal brand, like people want to know multiple aspects about you, whether it's where you're eating or where you're shopping or how you're viewing the world. They have come there and they have subscribed for you, which is true, because the accounts that I follow, I mean, I don't particularly care if they stick to one direction, right? Because I'm following them, the person. So if they want to post about their work, if they want to post about their life, if they want to post about their struggles, I'm there to follow their journey.
Right.
I would say it's okay your channel can be about multiple things. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to start a new channel for every topic you want to talk about. I feel like
for sure
there's a tendency for that also, where, I mean, it works once you hit a certain level, like once you hit like 1 million subscribers and you want to branch out, sure, you can do that, because then out of 1 million, at least 500,000 will come to the second account. But when I think when you're trying to build a profile, trying to manage too many channels, too many accounts, becomes overwhelming, and you can't really keep up with it.
And I have seen your videos, few of the videos. I mean, you are not that camera conscious at all. I'm camera conscious at all. I mean, I've done at least 20 videos so far. I'm still camera conscious, you know. If you ask me a question without this camera, I can talk to you like anything. Okay, आराम से बोल दूंगा. But if there is this camera in front of me, I'm like, no, I'll have to be a little bit conscious, you know. This is how it happens to me. So do you have any tip like how to face the camera and talk clearly?
See, the thing is, this has been something that's come very easily to me with very minimal effort. Since I was in school, I have been on stage, I've been in front of people, I've been, you know, house captain, whatever. Like I've always thrived on stage in front of an audience.
Oh, that's
So
real.
in that sense, the camera is actually, it feels like nothing compared to having a live audience in front of you. So I've put no effort into it, so I don't know how to help. Other than I would say, if you do get a chance to do any sort of public speaking or you know performing in public, giving talks, whatever, it really helps.
Helps,
It's
right?
it's nerve-wracking the first couple of times, but after that, I think it gets much easier.
Awesome. Well, those were my only questions. Thank you so much for coming to my show. It was so pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me and for considering me for this.